why love fades slowly, not all at once. I want to start by telling you something we all know but rarely say out loud. Love doesn't disappear overnight. It unravels slowly, quietly, often in ways we don't notice until we're standing in the wreckage of what used to be a home. When someone no longer loves you, the first thing they do is pull away emotionally. And it's sneaky, right? At first, it just looks like they're tired. They don't ask how your day was, but you tell yourself they're just busy. They don't laugh at your jokes the way they used to, but you think maybe I'm not as funny as I used to be. But here's the truth. It's not about you. It's about the quiet decision they've already started making in their heart. The second thing, they stop letting you in. The conversations that used to stretch deep into the night now barely skim the surface. You ask what's wrong and they say nothing, even though you can feel everything shifting beneath you. They start keeping secrets, not big dramatic ones, but the everyday kind. They stop sharing their worries, their wins, their weird little thoughts. And suddenly you realize you're standing right next to them, but you've never felt further away. And the third resentment creeps in. The patience they once had for your quirks gone. The way they used to light up when you walked into the room dimmed. Instead of kindness, there's irritation. Instead of laughter, there's a sigh. Instead of I love you, there's I have to go. And here's the hardest part. We often blame ourselves. What did I do wrong? But hear me when I say this. Their choice to stop loving you is not a reflection of your worth. You are still whole, you are still lovable, you are still enough. If you take nothing else from this, take this love. Leaving doesn't mean you are unlovable. It just means you're now free to find the love that stays. We like to believe that love when it ends like an explosion, sudden, loud, and unmistakable. But that's not how it works. Love doesn't vanish in one dramatic moment. It erodes little by little in ways so subtle that we don't even realize it's slipping away. Emotional distance is the first goodbye, the first signs of fading love. It starts with things so small they seem meaningless at first. A missed goodnight kiss, a shorter reply to a text, less enthusiasm in their voice when they say your name. It's easy to brush these off. They're just tired, it's just a busy week. Maybe I'm overthinking. But love doesn't disappear because of one fight or one bad day. It fades in the spaces between, in the absence of all the little moments that once made you feel safe and cherished. Think about it. In the beginning, love is full of small, beautiful things. Inside jokes, lingering touches, text messages just to say, hey, I was thinking about you. These are the stitches that hold the fabric of a relationship together. But when love starts to fade, it's those stitches that come undone first. Not all at once, not in some dramatic fashion, but one by one until you wake up one day and realize the warmth is gone. And the hardest part, it happens so gradually that we don't even know what's missing until it's already gone. One day, they're telling you about their dreams, their fears, their favorite memory from childhood. The next, they're just giving you short, polite answers as if they're talking to a stranger. At first, it's occasional, then it becomes the new normal. This slow unraveling is why heartbreak is so pain. Because when love fades in small steps, we don't notice it in time to stop it. We cling to the version of the relationship that once was, convincing ourselves that if we just try a little harder, we can bring it back. Love, once it starts to fade, rarely rewinds. So when love starts to slip away, the signs won't be fireworks or a sudden goodbye. They'll be the moments that used to feel full, now feeling empty. The conversations that used to feel endless, now feeling forced. The way their eyes used to light up when they saw you, now looking through you instead. And maybe that's the most painful part of all, realizing that love isn't lost in a moment, it's lost in 1,000 little ones. Long before someone physically walks away, they leave in other ways. Love rarely ends with a grand declaration. Instead, it fades through a slow retreat. One so quiet, so subtle that you don't even realize it's happening until the space between you has turned into a canyon. Emotional distance is the first real goodbye, the silent departure that happens before the actual words are spoken. At first, it's small, a hesitation before answering your question, a slight dullness in their voice when they say, I love you. But then, before you know it, their presence feels more like an obligation than a choice. It starts in the way they stop being fully present. You'll notice it when their eyes don't meet yours the same way, when they nod at your words but don't really hear them. Conversations that used to stretch deep into the night now feel like tasks. To silence becomes louder than words when communication breaks down. Check off a list. You catch yourself reaching for them emotionally, but their responses feel like echoes rather than real engagement. It's not that they stop talking to you, it's that they stop connecting with you. And here's the thing, emotional distance is one of the hardest things to accept because it doesn't come with a clear explanation. When someone stops loving you, they rarely say it outright at first. Instead, they just stop showing up in the ways that used to make you feel safe. The warmth that once existed in their presence cools, and the effortless intimacy that once defined your connection starts to feel like work. Maybe they stop sharing their thoughts with you the way they used to. The little things, their favorite song that day, the weird thing that happened at work, the random memory that popped into their head. Those details slowly disappear from your conversation. Where there was once curiosity about your life, now there's just polite acknowledgement. Where there was once effort, now there's indifference. And the worst part, you feel it before you can even put it into words. It's the way you hesitate before reaching for their hand, unsure if they'll pull away. It's the way silence used to be comfortable between you, but now it feels heavy and filled with things left unsaid. It's the way you start over-explaining yourself, trying to bridge the gap that only seems to widen. When emotional distance sets in, you start to grieve the relationship even while it still exists. And that's what makes it so painful. You're still standing in the same space, but the connection is already gone. Their body is there, but their heart has already started to leave. And by the time you recognize it for what it is, the first real goodbye, it's often too late to pull them back. Because once someone starts emotionally distancing themselves, they've already begun the process of letting go. There's a moment in every fading relationship when silence stops being peaceful and starts being painful. It's not just the absence of words. It's the absence of connection, of warmth, of all the unspoken things that used to make you feel safe. At first, the silence sneaks in quietly. Maybe they stop texting you good morning like they used to, but you tell yourself they must be busy. Maybe the conversations that once stretched for hours now barely last a few minutes. But you think maybe we're just comfortable with each other now. You convince yourself that the quiet isn't a warning sign, that love doesn't need constant words to survive. But then the silence starts to feel heavier. The pauses between messages stretch longer. The phone calls become shorter. The moments that used to be filled with laughter, stories, and inside jokes now feel empty. And the hardest part, it's not that there's nothing to say, it's that they no longer feel the need to say it. You notice it in the way they no longer ask about your day with genuine interest, the way they used to share random thoughts, little details about their life, their feelings, their dreams, has faded. Now instead of, "Can you believe what happened today?" or "I resentment," replaces compassion. From understanding to frustration, "Heard this song and thought of you." You get quiet nods, vague answers, and one-word responses. The flow of conversation used to be effortless, but now it feels like you're pulling words out of them and they have nothing left to give. And then one day, the silence is louder than anything they could say. It fills the space between you, stretching wider and wider until it becomes unbearable. You sit next to them, but it feels like you're miles apart. You ask them if something's wrong, but they shrug and say, "I don't know," or worse, "I'm fine, but you're not fine." And they're not fine, and the silence is saying everything that their words won't. Because here's the truth, when someone stops loving you, they stop needing to share their world with you. Words used to build bridges between you, but now the silence is a wall. It keeps you out, keeps them distant, keeps the love that once felt so natural from flowing the way it used to. And here's where it really hurts. When you realize that silence isn't just about what's missing, it's about what it's been replaced with. Once upon a time, silence was comfortable. It was the space where love rested, where you could sit together without speaking and still feel completely connected. Now silence is cold. It's heavy. It's filled with unspoken truths and quiet goodbyes. And maybe the worst part, when silence takes over, you start filling in the blanks yourself. You replay old conversations in your head, trying to figure out when things changed. You hear all the words they aren't saying, and in the absence of answers, your mind supplies its own. They don't care anymore. They don't love me anymore. They're already gone. Because when someone no longer loves you, their silence doesn't just speak, it screams. And by the time you hear it, it's often too late to bring the words back. Love at its best is built on compassion, the quiet understanding, the small acts of kindness, the patience to see each other's flaws and choose to stay anyway. In the beginning, love softens us. We see the best in our partner. We give them the benefit of the doubt, and even their little annoyances seem endearing. But when love starts to fade, something shifts. The warmth that once made us patient and kind begins to cool, and in its place something else starts to grow. Resentment. At first it's subtle. The way they used to smile and say, "It's okay," when you forgot something small, is now met with a sigh. The playful teasing that once made you laugh now carries a sharper edge. The patience they once had for your quirks, your messy habits, your long-winded stories, your need for reassurance, starts to wear thin. And little by little, compassion gives way to irritation. Where they once responded with understanding, now they respond with frustration. The softness in their voice turns stiff. The gentle reassurances become dismissive remarks. And maybe the most painful part, you start to feel like they seek escape, not connection. Avoidance and emotional withdrawal. A burden rather than a priority. Resentment is dangerous because it doesn't just arrive overnight. It builds layer by layer through unspoken frustrations, unmet expectations, and unresolved conflicts. It's in the way they stop looking at you with admiration and start looking at you with exhaustion. It's in the way they used to say, "I love how passionate you are about things," and now they roll their eyes and say, "Do we really have to talk about this again?" And one of the things we talked about, and one of the tools we talk about in the root, it's not just about the big moments. Resentment shows up in the everyday. They used to wait for you before starting a show. Now, they don't even ask if you want to watch. They used to check in when they knew you were having a hard day. Now, they barely acknowledge it. They used to listen, really listen. But now every conversation feels like a debate they don't want to have. At some point, love starts to feel like walking on eggshells. You don't want to upset them, so you hold things in. You think maybe if I just don't bring it up, we won't argue. But the truth is, the arguing isn't the problem. The silence is, because resentment doesn't need a loud fight to grow. It thrives in unspoken words, in false smiles, in the moments when you realize you no longer feel safe enough to be yourself. And then one day you look at them and realize that where there was once love, now there is distance. Where there was once tenderness, now there is indifference. Where there was once a hand reaching for yours, now there are crossed arms, tight lips, and a look that says, "I was." I tell this before, I don't have the energy for this anymore. Resentment is love's slow death. It's not a single explosive moment. It's a slow erosion of everything that once made you feel at home in each other. And by the time you recognize it, compassion has already packed its bags. When love is strong, connection is effortless. You don't have to chase their attention or beg for their time. It's given freely, joyfully. They want to be around you to share their thoughts, their fears, their laughter. Even in silence, you feel close. Even in distance, you feel secure. But when love starts to fade, something shifts. You notice it in the way they begin to pull away. Not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, in all the ways that used to make you feel like you belonged in their world. They're still there technically, but instead of reaching for you, they start looking for ways to escape. At first, you might not even recognize it as escape. It might just seem like they're busy. More nights out with friends, more overtime at work, more time on their phone, more distractions filling up their world. But what's really happening is that they're creating space between you. They're choosing distance over closeness, avoidance over intimacy. Maybe they start spending more time scrolling on their phone, lost in conversations with people you don't know, engaging in meaningless distractions that pull them away from the relationship. Maybe they suddenly develop new habits, new interests, things they never cared about before but now use as a reason to be anywhere but here. Your worth is unchanged, even if their love is gone. Healing and self-worth. With you, they stop asking how your day was, but they have time for endless hours of TV. They stop planning dates or meaningful moments together, but they always seem available when someone else invites them out. They stop making eye contact, but their eyes light up when they're looking at a screen. It's not that they're too busy, it's that they don't want to be present. And the most painful part, you start feeling like you have to fight for their attention. Conversations feel one-sided, like you're talking to someone who's only half listening. The effort you used to take for granted, the little check-ins, the thoughtful gestures, the small ways they used to show you that you mattered, starts to disappear. You try to bring it up, but they dismiss it. "I've just been stressed. You're overthinking. It's not a big deal." But it is a big deal, because when someone truly loves you, they don't seek distractions from you, they seek connection with you. Even in tough times, they want to lean in, not pull away. And yet when love is slipping, escape becomes their priority. Maybe they stay late at work even when they don't have to. Maybe they suddenly need alone time more often. But their version of alone time always seems to exclude you. Maybe they stop making future plans, leaving everything open-ended as if they're slowly untethering themselves from the life you built together. At first you try to make sense of it. Maybe they're going through something. Maybe if I just try harder, they'll come back. So you chase, you ask more questions, you put in more effort, you try to remind them of the love that used to come so easily. But the more you try, the more distant they become. Because when someone no longer loves you, they don't want to be reminded of what they're losing. They just want to find the easiest way out. And that's the heartbreaking truth. When someone seeks escape instead of connection, they've already started saying goodbye. Maybe not with words, maybe not in a way that's obvious, but in all the little choices that make you feel lonelier even when they're right beside you. When love fades, it's easy to think it's because we weren't enough. Maybe if we had been more interesting, more attractive, more successful, if we had just done something differently, they would have stayed. We replay every conversation, analyze every mistake, and what we could have changed to make them love us the way they used to. But here's the truth. Someone else's inability to love you the way you deserve has nothing to do with your worth. Love ending is not a reflection of your value. It doesn't mean you weren't beautiful enough, smart enough, or interesting enough. It doesn't mean you were too much or not enough. It simply means that love, as painful as it is to accept sometimes, runs its course. And when it does, it leaves behind a void that makes you question everything about yourself. Because when someone stops loving you, they don't just leave your life. They take pieces of your confidence with them. You start seeing yourself through their eyes, their coldness, their distance, their fading affection. You wonder, was I too needy? Was I too difficult to love? Was I ever really, conclusion, letting go and believing in love that stays, special to them? And before you know it, their departure turns into self-doubt, as if their inability to love you properly means you're unworthy of love at all. But here's what you have to remember. Love is a choice, and if they stop choosing you, that does not mean you are unworthy of being chosen. Someone walking away from you does not erase the depth of your heart, the kindness of your soul, or the unique way you move through the world. You were worthy before they loved you. You were worthy while they loved you, and you are just as worthy now, even if they don't love you anymore. Their love did not define you, and their absence does not diminish you. It's hard to see that in the beginning. When someone leaves, their absence feels like a mirror reflecting all your insecurities. The silence they leave behind feels like proof that you weren't enough to make them stay. But that's a lie that pain tells you, because the right love, the kind that is meant for you, doesn't require you to prove yourself, to shrink yourself, or to hold on to someone who no longer wants to stay. The right love meets you where you are. It sees you in all your messy, beautiful, imperfect humanity and still chooses you. So even if they walked away, even if they no longer see the magic in you, you are still magic. You are still worthy of a love that doesn't make you question your value. You are still deserving of a connection that feels safe, that feels mutual, that feels like home. Their love may be gone, but your worth remains. And one day you will find someone who sees it clearly even when they close their eyes. Love does not end in an instant. It fades in small, quiet ways before it ever truly leaves. It begins with emotional distance, with silences that grow louder than words, with resentment replacing compassion. It reveals itself when someone starts seeking escape instead of connection, when they stop showing up in the ways they once did. But the most important thing to remember in all of this is that their love leaving does not mean you have lost your worth. It is easy to believe that if they had just stayed, if they had just chosen you, then you would still feel whole. But love is not what defines your value. You were whole before them. You are whole without them. Yes, it hurts when love fades. It is painful to watch someone pull away, to feel the slow unraveling of something that once felt unbreakable. Just because love has left one place in your life does not mean it will not find you again. The right love, the kind that stays, the kind that sees you fully and chooses you every day, is still out there. So do not let their absence convince you that you are unworthy. Do not let their silence tell you that you are not enough. You are still worthy. You are still lovable. And one day you will find a love that does not need to be chased, a love that does not fade quietly into the distance, but one that stays, grows, and reminds you of what you always were: enough.